Howdy fellow YouTubers, my name is BobStraitFTW, and today I want to talk to you about Battlefield 1. For those of you that aren't familiar with my YouTube channel, I mainly make Battlefield videos, and I thought that I would talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Battlefield 1. Let's start with the bad. The new battle pack system in Battlefield 1 is way better than it is in Battlefield 4, only because you only get skins and XP boosts from battle packs now. You used to have to rely on getting 500 kills with a weapon to be able to unlock all of the attachments for it, getting a battle pack specific to that weapon every 50 kills. What I'm not okay with is the random nature at which the game actually gives out battle packs. Now in Battlefield 4 you could rank up and get a battle pack, but that's not the case in this game. It really is random. There is no way to earn an actual battle pack, you just have to be given one by RNGesus. Not to mention you can get duplicates of what you already have, but the game has a feature where you can break those down into scrap, which can buy you better battle packs that have a higher chance of getting more rarer items. Now as of now you can't actually buy scrap with real world money, but I would imagine that that's coming soon. We are talking about EA. Now when you compare Battlefield 1's weapon selection compared to Battlefield 4's weapon selection on launch, it definitely doesn't stack up. I counted about 36 different weapons, and Battlefield 4 had well over 70. Now this is kind of a moot point because there weren't a whole lot of weapons that they could have chosen from. But there is an issue where one of the classes you rarely ever get to use their guns because they're locked behind either flying in a plane or driving a tank. And if you want to be a good Battlefield player, you have to die with your tank or airplane. This little Battlefield tip is mainly meant for tanks because if you're not in it, it'll either sit on the battlefield or an enemy will steal it and it won't respawn. They did introduce weapon packages where instead of unlocking every single attachment for that weapon, you can select different packages that have all of the attachments set up for that package unlocked. This package system essentially forces you to play a weapon to the way it was supposed to be played. There are 3 different versions of just about every single gun in the game. For example, there are 3 different versions of the Russian 1895 sniper. Now the sniper version obviously has access to scopes and things of that nature, whereas the trench version doesn't have as much damage, but it does have a much higher fire rate, and it doesn't have access to the scopes that the sniper version does. So if you really look at it, there's 3 different ways that you can play almost every weapon in the game. Now this from a technical standpoint seems a little lazy, but from a player standpoint, I really like it. I literally sat down for about an hour this morning trying to figure out what else bad I could say about the game, and there wasn't a whole lot other than, the glitches and the servers not being, up to par. I was more trying to find design choices that I didn't like, and for the most part, those 2 are the only ones that were worth talking about. Now let's talk about the pros. In Battlefield 1, you have 3 different packages that you can choose from when you are selecting a vehicle to spawn in. All 3 of these packages are going to have you play drastically different. It really does give you a choice of how you want to play, or if you want to force yourself to play a different role. With Battlefield 4, there was always the right one to choose. You always went with APS, you always went with the AP shell. But now the game forces you to use other things along with the stuff that you want. I think this leads to more varied gameplay and being able to look at a tank and say, oh, it's shooting flames out of its side? Well, I know what it has access to now, or what it doesn't have access to. This is a system that as a previous Battlefield player, I was kind of shocked, because Battlefield is all about playing the game how you want to play it, and limiting the things that players have access to goes against that ideal. But I'm glad it was implemented because it does lead to more varied gameplay. In Battlefield 1, there are technically 6 different classes, but you only ever have access to 4 for the most part. The other 2 are the tanker and the pilot, but you very rarely ever get to actually use those classes. For those that are Battlefield veterans, they split up the medic and the assault class, making it so that you don't have a medic running around with a grenade launcher. Oh wait, they do have access to a grenade launcher. Well anyway, the assault class is more similar to the engineer class, but without all of the healing mechanics with it. With access to mines, a small cannon, and anti-tank grenades, it's by far the most useful class in trying to take out a tank, especially if you want to do it at longer ranges. The support class is almost just like it was back in Battlefield 4, but they did give it the Healy torch, or in this game it's more of like a Healy wrench hammer. They also gave the sniper a significant amount of tools to help them camp, with a shield that sits on the ground that has a little hole in it called a sniper shield, and decoy sniper glints as to confuse other snipers. Now back in Battlefield 4, it was kind of hard to be an actual successful rifle sniper. There were people that could pull it off, but you had to land headshots. In Battlefield 1, they made it so that snipers kind of have a kill range, where in between, let's say, 50 and 75 meters, it will get a one-shot kill to the chest. And every sniper rifle is different, as you can see by their little range damage meter thingamajiggy that they have in-game. They've changed the way that revives work, and now people can skip the ability to be revived to get back to their loadout faster. This leads to a multitude of issues if you want to play medic, where people are disappearing before you can even get to them. I don't think this is an issue with the mechanic itself. I think it's a problem with human nature in general, where people just want to get, that bad situation over with as soon as possible. Just because you skip it doesn't mean that you can revive faster. It just means instead of sitting on the ground waiting to be revived, you're sitting in the deploy screen not doing anything. You can also stay much longer on the ground than you think you can. Even after the timer ends for your deploy, you can still stay on the ground ready to be revived. The support class hasn't changed much, but they have changed the way that LMGs work. They are now extremely inaccurate for the first few rounds of a burst, and the longer that you hold down your burst, the more accurate it will get. This makes LMGs serve a much different role than they did back in Battlefield 4. I do think that they need some tweaking, because a lot of people don't use the LMGs because they are inaccurate on those first couple shots, so I think that they should give them a much more suppressive ability, because that's the role that they're meant to be played as. I would say that the majority of players tend to go towards the assault class because they have access to the submachine guns. These, as of now, especially in smaller game modes, are the most effective guns that you can have at close to medium range. The assault class offers a playstyle that everybody in Battlefield enjoys, including people that aren't used to Battlefield. The new melee mechanics are very different than any other Battlefield game. It's more similar to Hardline than any other. Now, if you come behind an enemy, unless they are on a turret or something, you can melee them and it'll do a little animation where you get a one-hit kill. Every melee weapon in the game does different damage, and so if the enemy is under what it can do in one shot, then it'll do an animation whether you're coming from them from the front, back, or sides. If they're not under the threshold what the weapon can deal in one shot, then you just whack them with it and do that amount of damage. Now, at first I wasn't a fan of this, because you would come into a lot of situations where you would see a guy first, shoot him first, but he shot you enough that he could melee you once and kill you. But I like this system much better than Battlefield 4's solution, where they would counter knife you if they came from the front. Mainly because there's a thing called lag in every video game you play, and there would be a lot of situations in Battlefield 4 where it would give you the wrong animation where the enemy came at you from the side, but on your screen it looks like you can counter knife them, or vice versa. Or you would go to knife an enemy player and he would spin around really quick, and then now you're being counter knifed. I think the new system that they implemented is much more fairer than that system was. Because if the game dicks up and doesn't give you that one hit animation kill, you just whack them again. There's also different categories of melee weapons, where some are, say, knives that you can swing really fast, whereas some are heavier weapons like a pickaxe or a hatchet that swing very slowly. This is where the system kind of parodies Battlefield Hardline. They also added a feature to almost every melee weapon where they can do other tasks than just killing people. You can break barbed wire, you can hack at wood, you can damage light vehicles with them. This brings another element to melee weapons that we haven't seen in a Battlefield game. I really do like this system, and I hope that they continue to improve the system and make it better, because they can always make it better. One of the things that Battlefield has always been known for is having very unique gadgets. Now, some of the DLC gadgets usually don't do anything whatsoever that is of use to anybody. But in Battlefield 1, they've added a lot of gadgets that help complement what that class is supposed to do. My personal favorite as of now is the limpet charge that the support class gets. It takes about half the health away from any vehicle you slap it on. It's also the support class's only way of actually damaging vehicles outside of a mortar. The mortars have changed as well. They are now significantly more useful than they were in any other Battlefield game that I know of. I think that may have to do with the way that spotting in the game works, because now it's very difficult for the enemy to locate you if they don't have you spotted. The medic class got a change with its revive mechanic, and now you can revive people to 100% health without having to charge it. I thought I wouldn't like it because it takes away a skill that you really do need as a medic in Battlefield 4, but with people having the choice to skip their revive, this is a welcome change. Pretty much everything in the assault class is self-explanatory except the the AT rocket. I don't mean that the AT rocket is hard to use, but it's the only weapon in the game that can pester tanks at a longer range. And because this is World War I, there's no auto-locking anything, so this is a very useful tool if you're trying to take out tanks. The sniper class got a bunch of new gadgets, and my personal favorite is the flare gun. The flare gun has two versions, one for spotting and one for blinding your enemy with the Son of God. The flare is severely underrated. It is a very useful tool, and as far as I know, it doesn't affect you, it only affects the enemies. The spotting version is also severely underrated. It can be used to find any enemy within a certain area. It's a very useful tool, and I use it constantly. They also brought in the trench periscope that allows you to see above whatever piece of cover you're behind. It's an almost necessary tool if you want to try and counter snipe. The new sniper shield allows you to hide behind it with an itty bitty hole that you can shoot out of, and an itty bitty hole that the enemy has to hit to kill you. If you're new to Battlefield, when you aim down sight with a scope, it displays a sniper glint. They added this feature a while back that allows people to know where snipers are. Now the new decoys can fake one of those glints to make people think that there's a sniper there. They've also added tripwires that you can actually attach to doors to set them to go off if somebody opens that door or if somebody just runs in front of it. As for a Battlefield game, this one is definitely top-notch, and I do appreciate DICE for actually coming out with a game that people really enjoy. People are even talking about the single player, which people haven't done ever. Battlefield campaigns have always been kind of lower tier. This one, however, has made some significant changes to the Battlefield single player formula, and it is very welcomed and it's very enjoyable. They did a really good job at making you feel like you are in the game. The atmosphere in this game is amazing. Seeing the blimp go down in a fiery flame of death is just amazing. I've seen it about 20 times, but every time I have to stare and look. It is just amazing. They added a new game type called Operations, which as of now you can't use a server browser to get into, but these operations kind of have a story, and it's not just one game, it's multiple games spanned over, I'd say, about an hour. What really hit me hard in Operations is when you have to move to the next objective, everyone on the attacking team yells a war cry that instills fear into the enemy and pumps you up like nothing you could imagine. I really am enjoying the game, and I hope that I enjoy it for much longer. If you made it to this part of the video, please put the word Battlefield in your comment in the comment section below so that I know that you watched the video all the way to the end. And to the best viewer and subscriber ever, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really help me and my channel out.
That is all.
One thing that I really do like about this game is that your classes really matter a lot more than they did, or at least how I perceived they did in Battle. The single player